Dear students, in this module, we are going to talk about the sociological theories of stratification. Sociologists use their different lenses to understand that how people are ranked differently in the society and what meanings they can make out of these differences. So, what determines the social class? If we talk about it from a Marxian perspective or from the Karl Marx perspective, it means that the means of production are the important factor that determine the social class. In other words, there are two classes of the people. One is the bourgeoisie class or the capitalist class, those who own the means of production. And then we have the proletariat or the working class, those who are the workers or who work for the owners. So there is a constant struggle, a constant tension between these two classes. Marx calls it the class conflict. So, in short, the people's relationship to the means of production determines their social class. If they own the means of production, they are considered the higher in the social class. If they do not own the means of production, they are from the lower class. And Marx interestingly considers that when the means of production are with the particular class and the awareness of a common identity based on one's position in the means of with the means of production, that creates the class consciousness. In other words, that if a class knows that it is my it is this property is mine, it means that they are pretty much conscious, they are well aware of their own class or their class status. So this is called the class consciousness. But Marx also calls it that this class consciousness is not a class consciousness. It is indeed the false consciousness. So Marx's term refers to the workers identifying with the interests of the capitalist class. How? When they, as the workers, they would see that our position as a working class is that we have to serve to our masters. We have to serve to the people who are giving us money for our labor. Marx calls that this class consciousness of working class is actually the false consciousness, and they need to get out of that class consciousness. So, if we talk about the social class or social stratification from Max Weber's point of view, Weber uh, has a pretty much disagreement with the opinion of Karl Marx, because Marx is often labeled as a reductionist. Because he reduces this debate of stratification merely based on the means of production. And Max Weber disagrees to that by saying that it should be based on three criteria at least. Number one is property, number two is power, and number three is prestige. So, by property, he means that yes, property is significant in determining a person's standing in the society. So, when he talks about the property, he agrees to the Marx that okay, property is important, but not property is the only factor. However, the ownership is not the only significant aspect of property. For example, some powerful people, such as managers of corporations, control the means of production, even though they do not own them. So, by giving the examples of the mediators who are playing the roles of managers, they do not necessarily own those means of production. A manager's role is only limited to control the working class and to manage the working class and to manage the resources of the capitalist. However, He is not the owner of those resources. He is not the owner of those means of production. Yet, he is higher in the social strata. He is exercising or he is enjoying the higher position as compared to the working class. So, Max Weber reflects that the property is not merely the only criteria to determine the stratification. And then he talks about the power, that the power is the ability to control others, even over their objections. So that makes the power a very much enforcing factor, because in the modern society, power can be exerted in two ways, in the form of coercion or in the form of legitimate authority. So, for example, the prestige can be turned into power, or power can be turned into prestige. So, both can be exchangeable. Two well known examples are the cricket player Imran Khan, who became the politician and now the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and the celebrity Jawad Ahmed, who also became the politician and the head of a political party. So you see that how these prestigious positions in society, being the celebrity, are exchangeable with the power structure of the society. And then we have the prestige. Max Weber says that prestige is often derived from property and power, since people tend to admire the wealthy and the powerful. Like sports celebrities, for example, might not own the property or be powerful, yet they have the higher prestige. And based on their higher prestige, they are often hired by different marks and different products. In order to sell those products, they use their personal prestige. So those who are paid for endorsing a certain brand, and in other words, property and prestige are not the one-way street, although the property can bring prestige and prestige can also bring the property. So then we have the functionalist perspective, uh, which says that social stratification helps motivating the qualified people. The patterns of behavior that characterize a society exist because they are functional for that society. Had those not been functional for the society, they would cease to exist. So it means functionalists say that even if people are stratified in different positions, even if there is inequality, that is also functional for the society. So because the social inequality is universal, inequality must help the society to survive. For the society to function, its positions must be filled, because after all, someone has to play the role of a cobbler, for example, on the lower social status. Someone has to become the barber because you need the haircut. And similarly, someone has to own those means of production based on which you are going to run a factory. So, from functionalist perspective, it means that all these roles are important, no matter if these stratifications are considered valuable or valueless from the society's point of view, but from the functionalist point of view, these all are functional in nature. So some positions are more important than others, and the more important positions must be filled by the more qualified people. So to motivate the more qualified people to fill those positions, they must be offered greater rewards. So in other words, if there are not the greater rewards for the greater positions, that would be less motivation for those who are going to act for that. In other words, if a sportsman is less likely to earn reward when he is making a lot of efforts to come into the national and then international level, then if he is less motivated, he is not gonna put that much efforts for making his position to be distinctive as compared to the other people. So, from functionalist perspective, even the social stratification exists because it is functional in nature.